Hey guys, in today's video I am finally going to do this update on my DIY gessos and how they have fared over time, but it has been at least half a year since I've made them last. So if you were also waiting for a recipe on clear gesso or for a DIY clear gesso, I do have that up. I'm just going to have it come across the screen there. So I have a few different ones. This one was made with talc or baby powder. This is cornstarch, this is Plaster of Paris, and this is gesso paste that was also made with baby powder. This is clear gesso made with calcium carbonate or marble powder. The most convenient, easiest ones, cheapest ones will be the cornstarch and the talc powder. These ones, Plaster of Paris, you would have to go and get that from somewhere, and I had to order it in. And I had to order in the calcium carbonate. It's not easy for me to get gesso. It's not cheap for me to get gesso because I don't live in a big area. I live in what is considered a remote part of Canada. I mean, I don't feel like I'm, isolated or anything, but to most of the world, I guess this would seem a remote part. So it is expensive for me to get gesso in sometimes. It can be expensive. Although I have Amazon Prime now, so, and it can take a while for me to get gesso in. And some people don't have money to buy gesso, and so they want to find cheaper alternatives. And so these can be cheaper. I know that sometimes people say, well, no, I think by the time you got all this and this and this and this and this, it's just the same. But that all depends on the center you live in. It might not be, because for me, if I was to buy this amount of gesso at the store, it would probably be about $20–25 where I live. Maybe at yours, where you live, it would be $5, so it is cheaper than making it. But you got to consider on YouTube, it's a global platform. Everyone lives in different areas. Prices are very different. So it may not be cost effective to buy your own gesso. It may save you a lot of money to make your own gesso. Also, some people say, well, I'd rather spend the more money and just have the convenience rather than go through all the trouble of making it myself. But some people really like to do DIYs. And in fact, some people actually like to go through all of that to make their own things. So that is just a public service message for all of you. And we're going to take a look at this. I don't know if all of these have fared that well. I'm feeling like maybe not, but we're going to see. So I've got a couple of different journals here. This is a travel journal that I've just started. I just put it together and I haven't even started doing anything in it yet. I've just put in the pages and bound it. And I put in some scrap pages and stuff. So gesso, if you're sitting here watching this video and you're unsure as to why you would need to use gesso in the first place, what is gesso, why do I want to use gesso, and why in the world would I want to make it, check out this video that's coming up right there, because gesso is a very important part of any artist's life, and there are definitely times when you need to use gesso, and I have it all explained hopefully in the video there. I am going to put links to all of these different recipes of gesso down below, so you can check that out in the description. Just click that bottom, that upside down triangle, and so I have various pages in here. That part of it doesn't really matter. And then let me just see here. I've just got a couple different ones I want to do just to kind of show you. So I think I'm going to put, we'll just try this. So let's try the baby powder gesso first. And yes, I am aware of warnings for talc and baby powder and whatnot. So I, am clear on that. I do realize that there are warnings. So just keep in mind that if you make this, there are some dangers associated with talc, just as there is in lots of art supplies you could use. This was the first one I made, so I'm going to do these in order of when I made them. This was over a year ago. This is well over a year old. So I do have to mix it up. You can kind of see it's kind of got a gray appearance, and it had that right from the beginning. So it does smell like baby powder. If you hate that smell, which I kind of don't enjoy it, there's that. It does go away once it's on the page and it gets aired out. It's fine. Or there is some people that really like the smell of baby powder, so they kind of love this. But it is kind of gray, and it is a little bit, you can see it's got a little bit of a, it's not perfectly white. So this is a little bit kind of gritty feeling, like it's kind of weird, like it's got, it doesn't feel too gritty, but you can see little specks in that. But it still works totally fine. For art journaling, Bible journaling, that kind of thing, I don't have any problem using my DIY gessos. For a fine art canvas painting, I would not use this one because I don't know how well it does over time on a canvas, over years and years on a canvas. So I would not do it for something that I sell or something that is quite special to me, or that I'm showing in a gallery or something like that. I don't do that on those paintings. I keep my DIY gessos for art journaling and for teaching purposes. So if I want a canvas and I'm just slapping on a bunch of paint just to show different techniques, I'll put the gesso on there just to get that down and just to get that canvas primed a little bit. So this DIY gesso with the baby powder is still going just fine. You do need to mix it up. With all of these, you'll need to mix them up. And even with manufactured gessos, you will have to mix them up a little bit sometimes. So you can see it hasn't hardened at all. So, you know, you always want to do whatever you can to make sure it's as airtight as possible. Here is the cornstarch one. So find another page. So I'm just going to put that over. I'm planning on covering all these up, so I might as well just do this. So you can hear a little bit. And this is pure white, or it's actually kind of, it looks a little bit creamy white, I guess. This is a lot better consistency than the baby powder. I like, there's not these little specks. It's a lot, it seems a lot more smooth. And it doesn't really have any smell. Maybe it smells a little bit like, I don't know. Does cornstarch even have a smell? I don't think it does, so. So this is quite thick, and it's quite like, it's not as smooth, like the texture, like to look at it, it's, the brush strokes are a lot more smooth and creamy looking. But to brush it, it really sticks to the paper, which is good. But it's not, you know, it's not a smooth application. You do need to kind of work it a little bit more when you apply it to the page. But this is stored quite well. There is not really any problem with how this has fared. I don't see any sign of it going bad from the cornstarch, like, because cornstarch is a, you know, we use it for baking and stuff, so I was wondering if it would go moldy and stuff, and it hasn't at all. So there, and I do like the color of this one better, as opposed to the gray baby powder. So right now, I would, before I made this, I probably wouldn't make this again. I would make this, and cornstarch is cheap, so it's the exact same stuff, except it's cornstarch rather than talc. So that is definitely a plus, and you are a little bit safer with the cornstarch. So we have that one. And then let me just find another one here. I don't want to use these ones because I don't want to cover them up. So I just am going to prepare another page. So I use gesso even on a page like this, or matte medium, because if I was to work on a page just like this, it would get ripped up with all the stuff I put on it. And the most I'd want to put on it is very, very light watercolor and very thin paint. And that's all you can do about it, before it starts getting all ripped up and whatever. So you do want to prepare your canvas. So this looks a little questionable. I started shaking it up. So this is Plaster of Paris. It hasn't gotten into a hard block, which, you know, I was a little bit concerned that it might. And I suppose if you wanted to, you could add some water to this. And this also looks like it would be great for stenciling with, so for making a little bit of a paste. So I'll show you what I mean by that really quick. let's just stick her in there, and I'm just gonna actually take this. And yes, I did use the end of the spoon because I didn't feel like sticking that in there. And I'll just wipe this off. So I have a silicone brush here, so I can just kind of, this is great as a paste. I don't remember how thick this was when I first made it, but this has not gone bad, and it's not hard. There's no hard bits in there at all, even like right on the thing. It's perfectly, you know, like I can completely put my finger through there. It's not hard at all. So this was actually a container I bought, an empty storage jar at Michael's, and my daughter buys these as plastic. My daughter buys these for her slime, and I figured, well, slime needs to stay pretty airtight, and so far it's worked for that. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this. It's an experiment, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then I know. But this actually worked really well. When I first picked up this jar and I just opened the lid in it without shaking, I was like, ooh, I think that has gone hard, but it actually hasn't at all. It just looked like it was at the top, so you just have to mix this up. So this is the Plaster of Paris. Now we are getting to gesso that is more like the manufactured type gessos. This is much more in line with that. However, all of them can prepare your canvases, and this one will be a little bit more expensive. So you can see I've got a little bit of a thing there, and then once that dries, I can go over that with some kind of dry brushing paint or ink or something, and then I'll have a little pattern there if I want that. And then I'm just going to do that just because why not? So I would clean this off right away just because it's, I mean, I say that, but I have tons of stencils where I didn't clean off, and then I just clean them off all at once, and I just have a cleaning party for a couple of hours in the afternoon. It'll probably just break off if I don't clean it off, but it is easier to just clean it off right away. So that is the Plaster of Paris, and that has worked really well. I like the color. And oh, here, I just want to brush it on a little bit just to see what it is to brush like, because I don't think it would feel that great to brush it on. Yeah, like look at that. That is just, I don't like that. But having said that, I sand a lot of my canvases for my fine art pieces. So if I was to sand this and, you know, go 3 times, which is what I do, gesso, sand, gesso, sand, gesso, sand, this would probably be fine. And the more I brush it, the more it kind of smooths out, but it's still just really gritty. So I could add some water to this. I'm not going to, because I kind of actually want to have a different consistency of gesso. So when I need a really thick gesso, I have this here, and I'll just go to my Plaster of Paris. And but if I wanted this to be thinner, I could easily do that. But you just want to add a little bit of gesso at a time. You don't go crazy. This gesso paste is the baby powder stuff. This looks like it's kind of gotten hard. Does it not look like that? Oh, maybe not. So it's, I think, honestly, I think it could work. It's a little bit dried up, but I think it would probably, let's just add some water to this just to see. So this is basically the same recipe as my baby powder gesso, but it's just a little bit different amounts of material because I wanted this one to be thicker. So I'm just gonna stir this up with the end of my spoon again, yes, and smooth that out. And that actually works really well. So now I've got that consistency. You know, if I wanted 5 different consistencies of gesso, we can get them apparently. And this can work for stenciling and modeling paste, and you could color this very easily. And this actually, I like the application of it. It seems to be a little more smooth than the Plaster of Paris. I'm just going to take it with the brush and just see what it does with the brush. It's very similar, yeah, pretty much the same as the Plaster of Paris. But again, the Plaster of Paris is a more accurate type of gesso if you're talking about getting closer to the manufactured gesso. And this has baby powder in it again, so just that talc warning, keep that in mind. So those are my gessos. They've all actually stored really well. I'm actually surprised because I didn't think they would. And this clear gesso, I just put a video up of that. So definitely check out the link for that. It worked really good and it is totally clear. You will want to check out the video for that. And this is going to store very well too. After seeing how all these did, you're going to, I'm not going to have a problem with that. So there we go. Yeah, I'm really happy with all of these gessos. And now I have gesso coming out my ears. I will see you on the next video.